Hi, I'm Jean Nolte, editor at Fons and Porter.
And I'm Colleen Tauke, and I'm the sewing specialist at Fons and Porter.
Today we're going to teach you how to make this glorified 9-patch block. It uses 4 different pieces, and they're right here. This center square, the outer pieces that are sort of rectangles, but they do have a little curved edge. Then these funny shaped pieces in the corner, and the fill-in pieces that go around the edges. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is move that out of the way, and we're going to just show you how to cut this piece.
Now, because there are templates, and we want to be able to cut quite a few layers at once, we're using a rotating mat, which helps us to always be cutting in a direction away from our body for safety. Okay, so we're using a small rotary blade so that it will snug up right against the curve. It makes it
so
more
I got
precise
those
cut.
too.
Of course, always use a glove to protect that hand that's near the blade.
And then I'm going to go the other direction and get this last side right here.
And you'll see that on the ends of some of these pieces there are small notches. Those notches are important in construction of the block at a later point so that everything comes together nice and neat.
Cut that one last little corner right there. Okay, all right. Okay. So we're going to move these out of the way because we're ready to start sewing.
Now it is called a glorified 9-patch, so it has a basic 9-patch construction. We can create 3 rows, just like you would in a normal 9-patch. The center looks very familiar. These outside corners, very elongated. Don't get upset, it'll be easy. Create your 3 rows, then join your rows together. Okay. And you will have elongated points. Now, just be gentle with the pieces. You do have a lot of curved bias edges here. So when I've taught, I've always told people, treat them like butterfly wings, very gently, okay? Because we don't want to distort the block. We need to put set-ins into this block because right now it's not square, is it? So here we go. We've got those gentle curved pieces. Make sure you put right side up. And you'll see the outside edges of these also are notched so that they will match up when we start to put them into the block.
Right. Okay, so now Colleen's going to sew one of these in. I think you're going to want this one because it has a little mark on it already.
Yes, it's a notch.
And there's a couple little tricks that make sewing these curved seams really easy.
Now, those outer edges, we want to find the center, so we just simply fold, and with this wonderful tool called a Frixion pen, if you put your mark there, later when you iron, it will disappear. So
that is a magic pen.
So it won't show through to the other side. We've marked, and the same thing, fold the piece in half, find the center and mark with the pen, and then using 3 simple pins, we can put this block together. Now, the placement is really critical for putting it under the machine. I've always taught my students, put the smile on top because you want to smile when you're finished. That's their goal. So we drop a pin in here, and we're going to match it with the notch on the other side.
Okay, so right in the middle.
And just take a little bite into the seam allowance. Don't go any deeper than that because that's the little area that has some ability to move.
Now this is where those notches that we cut on the ends of the pieces come in because that makes them match up perfectly.
See how they slide in there? And they're notched just right. So pin on each end.
Okay. Now the moment of truth.
Here's where it gets fun. Now.
So you're sewing all the way to the end. You don't stop a 1/4 inch away like you sometimes do on pieces. You sew all the way off to the edge, right?
Our machine is set for a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're going to drop the needle, make sure we're right on the edge there. Make sure our tail's out of the way. Now, machines don't always like pins, so we take them out as we go. We don't want to hear a crunch. And you just work your way along the edge.
So you just
don't be afraid if your first one is kind of a kindergarten block. You always need a practice one. But you just work your way along. The stiletto helps you hold the piece in place. Sometimes our fingers just feel like they're 10 times too big when we're trying to work on small pieces.
You know, practice block is good for just about anything you're doing, but once you've done a couple of these curved seams, you'll find they're really quick.
And this is a gentle curve. This is a good one to start with.
And the trick is putting the correct piece on the top.
Right. And we're using a real open toe foot so you can see where we're stitching it today. Again, remove the pins as you get to them.
And you're also stitching with red thread so it shows up better.
Yes,
We normally wouldn't do this when we were
But
making
we're
an actual
just-
quilt.
Don't worry about any little folds along the way. Most of them will press out.
So if you just stop and kind of move the fabric out of the way a little bit, it lies down flat by the time
Somehow
you get to the
it all
end.
fits in line. So we just finish right off the end.
Okay,
And I didn't.
now we're ready to give that a little press.
And you'll find that the seam allowance will want to just lay in one direction. So it's going to go out like
It's
this.
going to tell you where it wants to be, so we'll just put it over
You just
here.
listen to it.
And I'm just going to press it down. Look at that. So it goes to nothing at the corner.
They just kiss into the corner. The nice part about these templates is that you've got precision in your cutting, so then your piecing fits nicely.
Okay.
And the pieces are just a little bit oversized, just in
so-
case something moved a little while you were sewing.
All right, so now we're going to trim again.
This way, that when you put it up against its next block, it's going to be an exact fit.
All right, so this block is a little bit bigger. It actually needs to be cut 9 1/4. So what I'm going to do here is find the 1 and the 1 on my ruler here and put this diagonal line right on the diagonal line of the block. And I'm looking for the 9 1/4 inch line on my ruler to make sure it's all the way on there. On
And
this
this is
edge and that edge, we're just going to trim off
A little tiny bit.
maybe
just to
not
make
even
this
1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to trim, probably
block
like
off.
that.
There we go for safety.
I'm going
Fine.
to trim this side,
Across
and I'm
the
going
top.
to trim this side.
Again, we're using that rotating mat, so she can just pick up the ruler, not have to move the block.
And then I'm going to turn that around. And now I'm going to put the 9 1/4 inch line on each of these
And finish
sides.
the last two sides.
And
Now your
there
block
we
is the
have
exact
it.
size,
It's the correct
so
size.
you can continue piecing.
And that's your glorified 9 patch block. For more Sew Easy lessons, go to fonsandporter.com.